Babes, my heart is literally still palpitating. I am, like, fundamentally unwell.
You need to take a breath,
I
honestly.
can't. The betrayal, the blood, the sheer unhinged chaos of it all. I need a moment.
I assure you, the cardiovascular system can really only take so much dystopian trauma before it just, gives up completely.
Babes, wait, are we recording?
Yes, we are live right
Oh
now.
my God, okay.
Ugh.
Good morning, good evening, good day, good night, good life. Babes, we are so glad to have you here with us today. And if you haven't already, do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment.
Yes, please do. And also, Biggs, we know you might be listening while driving, or at work, at school, or literally just surviving life right now.
Honestly, surviving is a full-time job.
It really is. And, babes, we fucking love our Snark squad. We hope you have the best day, babes. You absolutely deserve it.
You so deserve it. And if you can hear the clinking in our glasses, the drinks are officially on deck.
They are very much on deck.
Tonight, we are drinking white peach sangria because, babes, it officially feels like summer. And honestly, we're just spiraling today.
Spiraling is an understatement.
I just have to spiral for a second about how summer energy literally changes your entire personality. Like, does this happen to you?
I mean, I definitely tolerate the outdoors slightly more.
No, but the sun comes out, the temperature shifts, and suddenly I am just, like, emotionally attached to the summer aesthetic.
Oh, here we go with the aesthetic.
Could do. I want sunshine, I want mild chaos, and I want to spend 3 solid months pretending to be a soft girl who just, like, floats through life on a breeze.
Right, because drinking a massive pitcher of white peach sangria while screaming about totalitarian murder is the quintessential soft girl aesthetic.
It is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Sangria is emotionally healing.
Sangria is emotionally healing, sure, but mostly because it's essentially just adult fruit juice that acts as, like, a localized anesthetic for your problem.
Exactly. It numbs the pain of reality.
The moment the temperature hits 75 degrees, we immediately become wine girls. Like, instantly. Instantly.
Could we purchase a $12 pitcher of sangria and treat it like an exclusive luxury personality trait? It's actually fascinating how quickly we adopt these coping mechanisms and just, disguise them as vibes.
It's all about the vibes, okay. But speaking of adopting new aesthetics and desperately searching for inner peace, I have to tell the Snark Squad what happened this morning.
Oh no, please do.
Because earlier, we mentioned getting tons of hobby suggestions from you guys because we need to enrich our lives outside of the studio.
We needed to touch grass, basically.
Right. And babes, tonight, before coming to the studio, we actually went bird watching.
We did. We subjected ourselves to the wilderness.
And I am spiraling just thinking about it.
I will reveal this right now. It honestly was not the worst experience of my life.
Yeah.
But it absolutely, definitively was not the best either.
I felt 97 years old while doing it. We got the binoculars, we went to the park, and we were trying so hard to give that soft girl manifestation era.
We wanted to commune with nature. But we ended up giving Joan and Felicia retirement home OG Snark Queens. Like, we accidentally spent the entire time completely ignoring the wildlife and just aggressively people watching instead.
I mean, I was entirely over it after exactly 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
It is a sheer psychological exhaustion pretending to know bird names while standing next to a rich, retired couple who are, like, fundamentally deeply serious about this.
They were so intense.
They are pointing at the canopy, and the social pressure to nod and pretend you care about a specific finch is just overwhelming. I do not care about the finch.
I know. I was looking at a pigeon like, yes, majestic. So rare.
Truly.
We did kind of feel like head bitches for a second, though, just surveying the land with our little binoculars. And shout out to New York Pollard, reality TV royalty, because she is apparently a certified bird watcher.
So you felt a little validated by that.
I did. But to conclude this entire experiment, bird watching is probably not our ministry, babes.
No, our ministry requires air conditioning and significantly fewer retired couples in khaki vests, which leads perfectly into the other torment we are currently enduring for the sake of wellness.
Ugh, tell the Snark Squad. I am suffering.
Somehow, against all biological urges, we survived another full day of vegetarian week.
Barely.
Let me just list the snacks we had before coming to the studio today, just so everyone understands the reality. We consumed hummus and pita, veggie wraps, fruit bowls, popcorn, pasta salad, and garlic bread.
Basically just carbs.
We are essentially surviving strictly on complex carbohydrate.
Babes, I am emotionally missing cheeseburgers. I am fully committed to the aesthetic of wellness culture right now, okay? I am manifesting that slim, thick summer energy.
Are you, though?
I am trying. but my soul is crying out for animal protein.
I will point out that I feel technically healthier, I guess, like my digestion is efficient.
Right.
But I'm also perpetually slightly annoyed. There's just a low-grade hum of hostility in my nervous system at all times.
I feel that in my spirit.
I am confessing to you right now, I am literally one minor inconvenience away from ordering a 10-piece lemon pepper chicken wing.
Do not tempt me.
I really question if this lifestyle could ever become permanent because the mental toll of denying yourself a primal comfort is immense.
It really is. It's all about control. And babes, speaking of surviving chaotic environments, trying to hold on to your sanity, and the utter failure of restrictive systems.
Oh, what a transition.
We absolutely have to talk about the mess we just watched. We watched Season 1, Episode 9 of The Testaments, titled Marat Sade, and we are spiraling.
It was a lot to process.
The girls are fighting, the dads are dying, and the drama is at an absolute all-time high.
This episode is genuinely a structural masterpiece. Let's break down the shady, incredible brilliance of the episode title first.
Yes, Marat Sade, what does that even mean?
So it isn't just a random assortment of words. It's a highly specific literary and historical anchor. The title references a 1963 play. The full title of the play is The Persecution and Assassination of Jean-Paul Marat as performed by the inmates of the Asylum of Charenton under the direction of the Marquis de Sade.
Wait, what? That is the most dramatic play title I have ever heard in my entire life.
It is incredibly dense, but the setup is fascinating. The play is set in the year 1808 inside a literal insane asylum.
An actual asylum.
Yes. And the Marquis de Sade, who is an inmate there, decides to direct a play about the assassination of a radical leader of the French Revolution.
Oh my God.
And the actors in this play within a play are all fellow inmates of the asylum.
That's so layered.
Right. So what the playwright is doing is questioning the very nature of revolution, violence, and sanity. The overarching question is this: are the inmates in the asylum crazy, or is the rigid, violent, oppressive society outside the asylum the truly insane entity?
Oh my gosh, that is chilling because that maps perfectly onto this entire universe.
Exactly. Relate this directly to Gilead. Gilead presents itself as this perfectly ordered, pious society built on religious purity.
When it's actually just a nightmare.
Right. In reality, it is a massive, continent-spanning asylum run by the most deranged, sadistic inmates imaginable, the commanders and the ants.
Literally. They are all completely unhinged.
They use systemic violence and sexual subjugation to oppress women, all while calling it God's will.
It makes me so sick.
But the crucial theme of the play is that extreme oppression breeds extreme, often messy, violent revolution. And that is exactly what we are watching unfold in this storyline. The inmates, the girls of Gilead, are finally starting to write their own script.
Yes, because Gilead has an absolute hard-on for Old Testament vengeance. Like an eye for an eye isn't just a casual philosophy for them.
It's their foundation.
It is their entire personality. They've built a legal system entirely on the concept of retribution. If you step out of line, they take a hand, an eye, a tongue.
It's purely punitive.
But what this episode asks, and what I want you listening right now to really think about, is what happens when the oppressed realize that the system's favorite rule can be used against the system?
That is the pivotal thematic question here. And the writers answer it brilliantly by weaving together two parallel storylines.
Daisy and Becca.
Exactly. We have Daisy's calculated manipulation and Becca's psychological fracture. We need to look at how both of these young women navigate a society that has pushed them into an absolute corner.
Let's start with the bloody bell. Because, babes, the imagery in this opening sequence...
It sets the tone immediately.
We start with Daisy. She is literally on her hands and knees mopping up actual execution blood off the floor of the courtyard.
Which is horrifying on its own.
Right. And Anstey is just standing over her, casually quoting Leviticus about harm being done to a man who does harm.
The irony is palpable.
And you can physically see the gears turning in Daisy's head. She is looking at the blood, looking at the ant, and deciding right then and there that she is going to take down Dr. Grove. She is going rogue.
And she does it in the most disruptive way possible.
She literally rings the giant bell to announce she's ready to become a plum, which is supposed to be this incredibly solemn, sacred ritual.
She's supposed to recite the prayer of Rebecca and Leah.
And instead, she just blurts out in front of the entire courtyard, "I got my period."
It's so...
Praise the messy queen. I was screaming.
I mean, it's hilarious on the surface, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's profoundly tragic.
How so?
What's fascinating here is the sheer biological reality colliding with their manufactured religious purity. Daisy realizes that in a society that strips women of absolutely everything, education, autonomy, identity, her only true power is her fertility.
Wow, yeah.
Her bodily functions are literally the only currency she has to manipulate the ants.
And the music. Babes, when the Plums come to dress her in the purple robes, taking her into their inner circle, the show plays Urge Overkill's cover of You'll Be a Woman Soon.
Such a dark, shady needle drop.
It really is, because she isn't becoming a woman in, like, an empowering sense. She's becoming a commodity. She's stepping right into the crosshairs.
Precisely. And while Daisy is ascending, we have Becca unraveling. The contrast in this scene is palpable.
Becca was fuming.
Becca is seething. She is standing there while they dress Daisy, and the jealousy is just radiating off of her. When it's time to pin the green, fruitful pin onto Daisy's new purple dress,
She physically stabs her.
she intentionally pushes the pin straight into Daisy's flesh.
Okay, I have to push back on you here, or at least, like, challenge how we are interpreting this.
Go ahead.
Was Becca just being petty? Like, was this just teenage mean girl jealousy because Agnes, the girl she is secretly in love with, is paying attention to the shiny new Canadian girl?
That's part of it.
Or is Becca the only one actually seeing that Daisy is a walking liability who could get them all sent to the colonies?
I think it's a potent mixture of both, and that's what makes the writing so strong. Becca is experiencing intense cognitive dissonance.
Because she's torn.
Yes. On one hand, she is heartbroken and jealous. The deep repressed love she has for Agnes is being threatened. But on an intellectual level, Becca is incredibly sharp.
She is the smartest one there.
She knows that the Pearl girls are spies for Aunt Lydia. She knows that letting a chaotic outsider into their tightly knit, trauma-bonded circle is profoundly dangerous. Her survival instincts are screaming at her to reject Daisy, and that manifests as physical violence with the pin.
And we also have to factor in the physical toll. Shout out to the Reddit snarkers who immediately noticed this. Those green headbands they make the girls wear look painfully tight.
They look like they are cutting off circulation.
They are literally digging into their foreheads. It sounds like a minor detail, but imagine living your entire life with a constant low-grade tension headache because of your mandated uniform.
It's designed to keep them irritable, subservient, and exhausted.
Exactly. So Becca is exhausted, heartbroken, and terrified, which leads us perfectly into the dentist trap.
Oh, the dentist scene.
This scene had me sweating, babes. Daisy goes to the dentist, Dr. Grove, and Agnes, being the ultimate soft girl bestie, goes with her.
She won't let her go alone.
They have this moment in the waiting room where Agnes just holds Daisy's pinky finger.
It's so subtle but so heavy.
It is such a cute, desperately tragic moment because Agnes assumes Daisy is about to be sexually assaulted by this man, just like she was, and just like all the other girls were. She is trying to offer her this tiny sliver of solidarity.
It's a moment of profound shared trauma. The girls in Gilead don't have the vocabulary to discuss sexual assault, but they have a silent understanding of it.
Right. They just know.
So Daisy goes into the room, sits in the chair, and the tension is just suffocating.
But then the absolute ultimate fake-out. Dr. Grove puts the bib on her, he looks in her mouth, and he doesn't touch her.
She does nothing.
He literally just gives her a standard dental cleaning and tells her she's done. Why? I was pausing the screen, pulling my hair out. Why did this known predator suddenly decide to spare Daisy?
This is where we have to dive into the psychology of predators within institutional power structures.
Okay, unpack this.
There are a few theories on this. One perspective argues that Grove, being an arrogant commander, was simply turned off by Daisy's antiquated Canadian fillings.
Oh, right, the metal fillings.
Yeah, he views her as physically tainted or unkempt compared to the pristine, untouched Gilead girls.
But let me challenge that. I do not buy that it was just about her fillings.
No.
Predators don't usually care about aesthetics when it comes to power and control, right? They care about vulnerability.
I completely agree with you. The much more psychologically sound theory is that Grove is a highly calculated institutional predator. He survives because he knows exactly who to target.
Exactly. Look at his other victims.
Right. Think about Hulda, Agnes, Becca. These are girls born and raised entirely inside Gilead's indoctrination machine. They are terrified of authority. They are uneducated about their own bodies.
They don't even know the proper anatomical terms for what is happening to them.
Exactly. And they are deeply afraid of ruining their marriage prospects if they are deemed impure. They are the perfect silent victims.
Because if they speak up, they get blamed.
Right. But Daisy's is a foreign entity. She grew up in Canada.
She knows what bodily autonomy is.
She understands what sexual assault is, and crucially, she has a massive rebellious streak. Grove looks at her defiance, her lack of ingrained fear, and he makes a rapid calculation.
You know she's trouble.
He thinks, this girl will scream, this girl will not stay quiet. Predators at his level are fundamentally cowards. He bypassed her because she was too high risk.
That makes total sense. He wanted an easy target, and Daisy is giving, like, I will bite your finger off energy.
Totally.
But Daisy realizes that if he doesn't assault her, she has nothing to report to the aunts. She can't take him down.
She needs evidence.
So she gives the performance of a lifetime. She fakes hyperventilating.
Right.
She physically rips her own pinafore strap to make it look like there was a struggle. And she runs out into the waiting room screaming and crying.
It was wild.
Give her the Academy Award right now.
It is a brilliant, terrifying display of manipulative survival. She manufactures the evidence because the truth that he's a serial abuser isn't enough to convict him without a fresh physical incident.
Which is so messed up.
It really is. And this leads to the ensuing Anne interrogation, which is a masterclass in institutional gaslighting.
Aunt Vidala is the actual devil. Like, I hate her.
She truly is the bureaucratic face of evil. Vidala tries to gaslight Daisy immediately.
She uses the exact same tactics she used to silence Holda earlier in the season.
Exactly. She says things like, are you sure you weren't confused? Are you sure he didn't just brush against you accidentally?
So disgusting.
It's the classic institutional response to abuse. Minimize, deflect, and blame the victim's perception.
But Daisy stands her ground. She refuses to let Vidala spin the narrative. And we have to talk about Aunt Lydia in this scene.
Let's talk about Lydia.
Because Aunt Lydia totally knows Daisy is lying. You can see the micro-expressions on Ann Dowd's face.
Oh, she definitely knows.
She knows Dr. Grove is too smart to rip a girl's dress with witnesses right outside the door.
This is a crucial point. Why does Aunt Lydia accept Daisy's lie?
Because Aunt Lydia had been wanting to take down Dr. Grove for years, but she hasn't had the political capital or the perfect excuse. Daisy just handed her the smoking gun on a silver platter.
Lydia weaponizes the lie. It's entirely strategic.
Exactly.
Aunt Lydia is playing a massive game of chess. She knows the system is deeply corrupt, but she also knows she has to operate within its rigid rules.
It's all about the rules for her.
There is a fascinating moral conundrum here. A wrong thing done for the right reason is still inherently wrong.
Unless you are in Gilead.
Right. Unless you are existing in the moral vacuum of Gilead, where strategic manipulation is the only form of justice available.
Strategic justice. I love that phrasing. But the hypocrisy of the commanders is what really sends me spiraling.
Oh, Commander Judd.
Lydia takes this accusation to Commander Judd. And Babes, Commander Judd, laments losing Grove by saying, and I quote, "He was such a good dentist."
It's nauseating.
I wanted to throw my sangria at the screen. They genuinely care more about their own oral hygiene than they do about the fact that this man is systematically destroying the lives of young girls.
It perfectly exposes that Gilead has absolutely nothing to do with protecting the innocence of youth.
Nothing.
It is entirely about maintaining the comfort of powerful men.
And that hypocrisy compounds when they decide what to do about it.
Yes, the salvaging.
Judd and Lydia agree that Grove must face a salvaging, which, for you listening, is a brutal public execution where the handmaids or aunts literally tear the accused apart with their bare hands.
It is the ultimate expression of the eye for an eye philosophy we talked about earlier.
But they make a critical decision. They delay the execution.
Yes. Why did they delay it?
Because they don't want the scandal of Dr. Grove's crimes to ruin Becca's marriage prospects. Becca is supposed to marry Garth, who is a guardian, and they want to secure that political alliance before the execution.
So they are essentially prioritizing a political wedding over removing an active predator from society.
It makes my blood boil.
It's all about the optics. The institution must appear flawless, even as it rots from the inside out.
But you cannot contain that kind of rot forever, babes. And the tension finally snaps the next day at the school.
The schoolyard brawl.
Becca is outside, and she is at her absolute limit. She just lunges at Daisy. It is a full-on unhinged tackle.
Agnes has to physically jump between them and pull them apart.
And we must pause to appreciate Shunammite during this entire ordeal.
Oh, Shunammite is an icon.
Yes. Shunammite is standing there completely unbothered by the violence, looking at them like they're ruining her aesthetic, and she drops the most iconic, shady one-liner.
Sketch us. It'll last longer.
She is the clueless queen we need in this dark timeline.
Shunammite operates entirely on surface-level vanity, which is, ironically, a fantastic defense mechanism in a world this dark.
It really is.
But the humor immediately drains away when Agnes drags Becca onto the veranda to calm her down. This is where the devastating truth finally drops.
I was holding my breath.
Becca is ranting, screaming that Daisy's a liar, that her father's a good man, and Agnes just looks at her with complete exhaustion and says she knows Daisy isn't lying because Dr. Grove did the exact same thing to her.
Babes, the acting in this scene, you have to watch Matei Conforti's face, the actress who plays Becca.
It's incredible work.
Becca's voice trembles, and she asks Agnes if her dad ever touched her. Agnes nods. Becca's entire reality completely crumbles in real time.
It truly is phenomenal acting. We have to understand the depth of Becca's psychological fracture here.
Because she believed in it all.
Remember, Becca is a true believer. She was raised in the system. She believes in Gilead's laws, and she believes in her father's righteousness.
Right.
In Gilead, the punishment for these types of crimes is brutal mutilation or death.
Yeah.
So her brain is hit with an impossible contradiction.
It just shorts out.
The man she loves and respects as a moral authority is actually the ultimate monster in the eyes of her own religion. And the victim is the girl she secretly loves.
Her brain just blue screens. It cannot compute that level of betrayal.
Exactly. It's a total collapse of her worldview. Which leads us to the dinner table semantics.
The tension at this dinner table was thicker than my sangria. It was suffocating.
It was hard to watch.
Becca's mother is sitting there, totally in denial, trying to talk about wedding flower arrangements. And Becca just stares her dad down. She asks him point blank if the accusations about Daisy are true.
And Dr. Grove's response is a masterclass in the semantics of a guilty man.
Tell him what he said.
He looks at his daughter and says, I didn't lay a finger on that Pearl girl.
He told on himself. He completely told on himself.
He did. He is technically telling the truth. He didn't assault Daisy. But by using that highly specific phrasing, he is implicitly admitting guilt regarding the other girls.
Because he didn't just say he was innocent.
Exactly. He doesn't say, I have never assaulted anyone. He limits his denial strictly to Daisy.
And Becca catches it.
Becca is sharp enough to clock this immediately. She hears the omission, she hears the guilt.
And that is the exact moment this prestige drama turns into a full-blown, unhinged slasher movie.
The genre shift was intense.
I was watching through my fingers. Becca goes upstairs. She looks these beautiful floral bouquets she's supposed to be arranging for her wedding.
The visual irony.
She picks up her mother's floral shears, these heavy, sharp iron scissors, and she walks into the ensuite bathroom where her dad is chilling in the bathtub listening to opera music.
The cinematic choices here are brilliant.
The opera music.
The juxtaposition of the serene, high-culture opera music with the impending visceral violence is a classic horror trope, but it works perfectly to illustrate the duality of Gilead.
Cultured on the surface, barbaric underneath.
Cultured and polite on the surface, barbaric and bloody underneath.
It works so well. She walks in and she just absolutely goes to town on him.
She does not hesitate.
She stabs him in the chest with the shears, and when he protests, she stabs him again. And again. The sound design. You can hear the metal going in and out of the skin. The bathtub just fills with blood.
It is intensely brutal, but we have to analyze why Becca does this.
Because she snapped.
Well, this isn't just a simple crime of passion or a sudden loss of temper. This is an execution.
You think she planned it in that moment?
She is dissociating. In her shattered mind, the systemic justice of Gilead has failed. The aunts delayed the execution for a wedding. Her mother is complicit. The system protects the commander.
Right.
So Becca internalizes the very retributive logic Gilead taught her, an eye for an eye, and she becomes the divine executioner. She is dispensing the justice that the state refused to provide.
She literally became the hand of God in her own mind.
Exactly.
And the aftermath is surreal. She's covered in her father's blood, wearing a white nightgown. She calmly puts on a Martha cloak.
Which is such a symbolic choice, wearing the uniform of the servant class to hide her sins.
Yes, and she just gets on the public bus. She rides the bus across town to Agnes's house, sitting next to normal people while completely soaked in gore.
It highlights the invisibility of trauma in the society. People see a Martha cloak and just look the other way.
It's so creepy.
She arrives at the Mackenzie house, and Zilla the Martha, whose tongue was cut out, adding another layer of visual trauma to the scene, wakes Agnes up.
And then Agnes comes into the bathroom, and Becca drops the cloak.
The ultimate betrayal sequence begins.
This sequence, babes, Becca is standing there with this manic, dissociated smile on her face, and she says to Agnes,
He can't hurt you anymore. Oh my God.
Agnes's initial reaction is beautiful, though. She handles Becca like a wounded bird.
She is so gentle with her.
She has Zilla run a warm bath, and Agnes gently, meticulously washes her abuser's blood off of her best friend's skin.
It's like a baptism.
The imagery of baptism, of trying to wash away the sins of the father, is incredibly potent here.
But it goes so wrong. Becca looks at Agnes with total desperation and begs her to run away with her. She says, Agnes, I'd do anything for you.
And it's true.
It is. She murdered her own father to protect her. But Agnes agrees to run away, and the second Becca's guard is down, Zilla has woken up Agnes's parents.
Commander Mackenzie and Paula. Commander Mackenzie and Paula, who I hate with the fire of 1,000 suns, by the way, are standing there. And Garth, the fiancé, is there too, looking completely traumatized.
This is where we see the tragedy of indoctrination.
Why did she betray her?
It's a concept called system justification theory. People who are oppressed by a system will often defend that very system because the alternative is psychologically unbearable.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning, accepting that the world is entirely chaotic and their suffering is meaningless is too hard. Agnes fundamentally trusts the adults.
She still thinks they'll help.
She believes her father is going to get Becca a doctor. She doesn't understand the lethal machinery of Gilead the way Becca does.
But her dad doesn't call the doctor. He calls the eyes, the secret police.
They don't mess around.
And they don't just knock on the door. They swarm out of the shadows like Illuminati ninjas. They grab Becca, dragging her off the porch while she kicks and screams, begging Agnes for help. Agnes. Agnes, it is haunting.
It is devastating to watch, but let's pause and push this question to you, the listener, right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
Put yourself in Agnes's shoes. If your best friend showed up at your house at 2 in the morning, covered head to toe in their father's blood, holding murder weapons.
I know where you're going with this.
Are you packing a bag and fleeing into the night, or are you calling the authorities?
I am pushing back on you before you even answer. I would run away with you. I would help you hide. Loyalty above all else, babes.
That is objectively terrible advice.
You would turn me in.
I am calling the authorities immediately. I love you, but I am not fleeing the jurisdiction.
The betrayal.
I will hire you a phenomenal defense attorney, but I will not become an accessory to patricide.
You are just like Agnes. You lack the revolutionary spirit.
I lack the desire to be executed, which actually transitions us perfectly into our first segment of the day.
Fine. Segment 1. Who'd last longest?
Let's get into it.
Okay, babes, let's play a scenario game. Based on everything we just analyzed, and looking at the psychological profiles of these characters who would realistically survive the longest in a total societal collapse.
Like, if the grid goes down.
Yes. If the government falls, and it is a pure survival of the fittest wasteland.
I have analyzed this, and I am firmly arguing for Daisy.
Really? Daisy. She rings bells and yells about her period. She has zero subtlety.
True. She lacks self-preservation in a structured environment. But in a total collapse, subtlety gets you killed.
I guess that's fair.
Daisy is relentlessly scrappy. She is highly manipulative. Look at the dentist scene. She is completely willing to destroy her own clothing and manufacture a panic attack to frame an enemy.
To secure her own survival.
Yes. She understands how to weaponize the assumptions people make about her. In an apocalyptic scenario, that kind of ruthless adaptability is the ultimate survival trait.
Okay, I see the logic, but I'm going to throw my weight behind Becca.
Becca, after she just snapped.
Let me explain. Before Becca's psychological break in this episode, she was the most calculated person in the room. She saw through Daisy immediately. She knew the Pearl girls were a threat.
That is true.
She played the obedient, perfect daughter flawlessly for years.
But she snapped.
She snapped because of love. She let her romantic attachments dictate her actions. If Becca was dropped into an apocalypse alone, without Agnes to protect or worry about,
she would be unburdened.
She would be a warlord. She has the capacity for extreme, calculated violence, and she knows how to blend into the background. She would be running a post-apocalyptic settlement in a week.
That is a compelling argument. A completely detached Becca would be formidable, but we can both agree on who would die first, right?
Oh, absolutely. Agnes.
Agnes wouldn't last 24 hours.
No way.
As we discussed with her betrayal of Becca, Agnes suffers from a terminal case of trusting authority. In a societal collapse, there is no authority.
She would just open the door for anyone.
If a marauder told her he was a doctor, she would offer him tea. She lacks the fundamental cynicism required to navigate chaos.
She's entirely too sweet. But I have a wild card for you. Aunt SD.
The aunt. How does she survive?
Think about her actions in this episode. After the dentist incident, Aunt Esty actually dropped to her physical knees to apologize to Daisy.
Because she was terrified of Lydia.
But she feels intense survivor's guilt, and she knows exactly how to play the middle. She appeases Aunt Lydia, she plays the political game with the commanders, but she retains just enough humanity to not become a primary target of the resistance.
That's flying under the radar.
Exactly. People who successfully play the middle don't make enemies. They just quietly outlive everyone else while the extremists kill each other off.
That is a dark but historically accurate assessment. The middle managers of totalitarian regimes often slip through the cracks of a revolution.
Exactly. Which brings us to our next segment, soft girl survival rankings.
My favorite topic.
We need to rank the characters who would fail immediately in a dystopian world because they are entirely too committed to the aesthetic of being soft, passive, and cared for.
I will place Shunammite firmly at the top of this failure list.
100%.
Shunammite is currently existing inside a brutal, oppressive regime, and her primary complaint is that the interpersonal drama is distracting her from securing a wealthy husband.
Sketch us, it'll last longer.
She is the literal definition of a person who has aestheticized her own oppression. If the apocalypse happens, Shunammite is going to complain about the thread count of the emergency sleeping bags.
She requires luxury to function.
She truly does.
These rations are making me bloat. That is Shunammite on day one of the apocalypse. She is gone.
So who is next on your list?
Next on the list has to be Hulda.
Poor, tragic Hulda.
Hulda is just too pure. She was so easily gaslit by Aunt Vidala earlier in the season. Vidala told her that she just imagined the assault, and Hulda accepted it.
She internalized the blame completely.
If Hulda was in a zombie apocalypse, she would literally apologize to the zombies for taking up too much space while they were eating her. She has zero defensive mechanism.
It's heartbreaking because her extreme passivity is exactly what Gilead engineered her to be. It is a feature, not a bug.
It's so sad.
But let's look at Agnes again in this context. Agnes is the ultimate, complex, soft girl.
Break that down for us. Why is she different than Hulda?
Because Agnes wants to be brave. She held Daisy's hand in the waiting room. She wants to protect people.
Right, she has the instinct.
But fundamentally, she believes the aesthetic of caregiving is enough to stop violence. She washed Becca in a warm bathtub, spoke in soothing tones, and then handed her over to a totalitarian police state.
Wow.
She wants the peace, but she refuses to fight the war required to maintain it.
That is profound. She relies on the aesthetic of peace instead of the action of protection. I am shook.
It's the ultimate soft girl flaw.
Okay, babes, bringing this heavily back to our deeply traumatic morning activity.
Bird watching.
I was thinking about this while we were analyzing the surveillance state of Gilead. How absolutely ridiculous would our little bird-watching hobby look inside this universe?
It would be a disaster of epic proportions.
Complete disaster.
First of all, let's be realistic. We would be aunts. We are unmarried, deeply cynical, and we overanalyze everything.
We would be the worst ants in the history of the regime.
We really would be.
Imagine us in those heavy brown dresses, sitting on the school veranda with our binoculars, telling everyone we are conducting important ecological research.
We would tell Commander Judd we are tracking the migration patterns of the Gilead yellow-bellied sapsucker.
But what are we actually doing?
In reality, our binoculars would be pointed directly into the commander's living room windows, just aggressively spying on all their domestic drama.
We would be treating the surveillance state like a reality television show.
We would know exactly who is cheating on who.
Yes, and I joke that we would totally use the bird watching as a cover for Mayday operations. Like I'd look through the lens and go, oh, look, babes, a red-breasted robin.
And that means what?
That would be our secret encoded translation for, Dr. Grove is getting poisoned tonight.
You are vastly overestimating our ability to be subtle. We would be caught and executed by Tuesday.
Let me push back. We are sneaky.
We are not. We would be standing in the courtyard, completely forgetting to use our inside voices, just absolutely dragging the tailoring of the Pearl Girl outfits.
I mean, the tailoring is bad.
Aunt Vidala would overhear you complaining that the shade of green in the headbands clashes with your skin tone, and we would be on the wall by lunchtime.
Okay, you are entirely correct. I would literally get executed for complaining about my color season in a dystopia.
Without a doubt.
Which brings us to our final segment. Segment 4. Luxury items we'd smuggle into the apocalypse.
Crucial survival planning.
If you, our Snark squad, were trapped in this dystopian nightmare, what are the absurd, non-essential luxury items you would refuse to live without? What are we smuggling past the Guardians?
I will vehemently defend smuggling in high-end, salon-quality hair products, deep conditioners, anti-frizz serums, heat protectants.
In the apocalypse.
Yes. Do you understand the humidity levels that must exist underneath those heavy wool Martha cloaks?
Oh, it must be sweltering.
Or those ant dresses? It is an ergonomic nightmare. I refuse to survive the collapse of civilization with split ends.
Priorities.
Furthermore, I am bringing an unlimited magical supply of this white peach sangria.
The emotional support beverage.
Exactly. You cannot plot the overthrow of a patriarchal regime completely sober. You need a baseline level of liquid courage to ring the bell and declare war on the system.
I support that fully. But my item.
Let me guess.
Babes, I am screaming this from the rooftops. I am sneaking in cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburger?
Yes. Vegetarian week in the real world almost took us completely out today. We are spiraling over hummus.
We are barely surviving.
There is absolutely no way I'm surviving on Gilead's organic farm-to-table gruel and plain bread. I need a double patty with processed cheese to maintain my sanity.
I am going to challenge the logistics of this immediately.
Challenge it.
How exactly, in a totalitarian society filled with checkpoints, guardians, and Aunt Lydia sniffing around every single corner, are you hiding a hot, greasy cheeseburger?
I will find a way.
The olfactory evidence alone would give you away in 3 seconds.
I will do what I have to do. I will hollow out a massive King James Bible.
You're joking.
I will carve a burger-sized hole right in the middle of the Book of Psalms. The aesthetic of my sanity requires sustenance, and if I don't get it, I will become a bigger villain than Commander Judd.
A hollowed-out Bible smelling distinctly of onions and beef grease. Aunt Lydia would have an absolute aneurysm.
She would be so confused. But I would be full.
That's so unhinged.
Oh my God. Babes, this conversation gave us absolute whiplash today.
My brain is exhausted from the plot twists.
But we made it through.
Yeah.
We survived the psychological trauma of Gilead, we survived the sangria spirals, and we survived Vegetarian Week.
Barely.
We want to give a massive thank you to you, our Snark squad, for hanging out and unpacking all of this with us today.
It's been a journey, but before we sign off, we want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to mull over until we dive into the finale next week.
Give it to them.
We've spent this time analyzing how Gilead's legal system is based on this hypocritical eye for an eye mentality. But if the system itself is entirely corrupt and the authorities actively protect the predators,
Which they do.
does vigilantism like Becca murdering her father in the bathtub become the only true form of justice available? Or does becoming a monster in order to kill a monster just mean that, in the end, Gilead's philosophy wins anyway?
It gave me actual chills.
Yeah.
Does Gilead win because they successfully turned a soft girl into a killer?
It's a dark thought.
I am going to be spiraling about that all night. You guys, we need you to weigh in on this down in the comments. Tell us everything.
Please do.
Answer these questions for us. What weird, random hobby should we try next week to keep ourselves sane?
Hopefully indoors.
Is bird watching actually relaxing, or is it universally exhausting?
Yeah.
What is your absolute favorite summer drink that we need to review? And realistically, could you survive a full vegetarian week, or are you immediately hollowing out a Bible for a cheeseburger?
Let us know your thoughts. And as always, please remind yourselves to like this video, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss out.
Yes. We love you guys, so until next time, stay messy.
Stay delusional.
And we will see you on the Snark side.